Hey everybody, David here, and welcome to the ASOG podcast. We're going to be doing something a little different for the next few weeks as Lucas and I had an opportunity to attend the premier automotive training event in the Southeast, ASTE, put on by the Independent Garage Owners of North Carolina. As a runner-up to Ratchet and Wrench's All-Star Award, Lucas also attended the Ratchet and Wrench Management Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We were able to record a bunch of great conversations, and we'll be releasing them at a pretty rapid pace. First up is a conversation that Lucas recorded at the Ratchet and Wrench Management Conference. He sat down with shop owners Jimmy Alauria, Jason Stretch, and technician Judson Stagnero to talk about the event. But before we get started, please take a moment to hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you like our content, a subscription would be fantastic. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast listening app, make sure you're set to automatically download the latest episode so you never miss an upload. And there's going to be a bunch here soon, so make sure you're subscribed. And now, here we go.
Tell me your name. I can't pronounce it.
Jimmy Alauria.
Alauria.
Yep.
Very cool. What's your name?
I'm Judson Stagnero.
Very cool. Where are you from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. And you came up here to the cold country, right?
I did.
Where are you from?
I'm from the cold country. I'm from Pine River, Backus, Minnesota, about 2.5 hours north of here.
Really? Yeah. Very cool. So tell us, why are you here, Jimmy?
Well, I've been a shop owner for the last 6 years. I've been speaking at this conference for the last 3 years.
Really?
And it's a really unique conference in that it's all about shop owners helping shop owners.
Right.
So.
Well, that was one of the cool things that I noticed about it is like everybody talking was either a shop owner or had been a shop owner. And one of the things that I've noticed with coaches and consultants is they oftentimes become disconnected. Right? They go and they start working as a consultant and they lose sight of what it's like to be in the shop and make recommendations, say, hey, go do this. Dude, I don't think you understand what it takes to do that. Like, if you were here, you wouldn't see that the same way, you know? So that's really cool. And that was one of the things that I thought was neat about it was going into these rooms and listening to a shop owner share their perspective. But you know what I thought was the coolest was the networking part of it. Like literally going room to room and walking around with that sheet last night and talking to people and just meeting different people, almost forced to meet people. That was really cool.
Right. I met a lot of really cool people. I'm an aspiring shop owner, so being able to discuss, my dreams and my ambitions with people that have been successful is astronomically helpful to begin with. But the thing that I've taken away from this whole event is everyone that I've talked to is willing to share. It's not like we're holding our cards close to the vest. It's like, no, I'm successful and I want you to be successful too.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's so cool about it is because everybody's driving to improve the industry as a whole, right? Yep. Not just trying to do something for self, really pushing to try and make things better for everybody, and that's crazy. So what are you doing now? Are you working in a shop? What are you?
Yeah, I'm the master automotive technician / lead technician.
Right.
And I kind of have this unwritten agreement that once I'm done here, I'm going to sit down with my owner and we're going to discuss the buyout plan because he's 62. It's time for him to retire, and I'm very excited to fill those shoes.
That's awesome, dude. And so, like, how long have you been turning wrenches?
10 years now.
Very cool. Awesome. And you've got a big passion for EV.
I do. Yep. I firmly believe that it's the future.
Right.
Like I said, I bought one just with the thought that whether I like it or not, I'm going to end up working on them, so I should know what it's like to live with one.
Right.
And to be truthful, I didn't want to like the car. But I got into it and I drove it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever driven. It's just, you get into it, it just goes, you don't worry about it. And I have to beat my wife off with a stick to keep her from driving it.
That's awesome.
And she's like, I'll take it.
Well, so I'm thinking about buying one, right? Just to have one to drive. And let's see here. Jason, you got to tell everybody who you are. Put that on your, and we're going to sync you up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to snap our fingers. Yes, perfect. Love it. So, so long story short, Jason.
Photo op.
So Jason Stretch just joined us. So we're going to take it to the next step here. We're recording everybody. So you're big into EV. Jimmy, where did you come from? How did you get started?
Family business. My dad started our company in 1975, a month after I was born.
Right.
Yeah, and so I never had any aspirations of getting into the industry, and then hockey career ended very shortly after I went pro, and
Right.
I was in the family biz. So
Right. Didn't have much of a choice.
yeah, but it was interesting. I was talking to a group yesterday, and my love and admiration for this industry has obviously had its ups and downs. I've been doing it for 21 years.
Wow.
But it's been an up and down that looks like a nice upward trend in the graph.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it just gets more and more, and I think it's just because of stuff like this where you really get to know shop owners and you start networking with some of the top guys in this business, and you realize that none of us are competition.
Exactly.
We all want to share our best secrets because we just want to make the industry better.
Yeah, exactly. And Jason and I were talking about that earlier. Like, we have to expand. We have to get better, and we have to take the bottom with us. Right? We don't improve our industry unless we take everybody with us. And unfortunately, that means some have to leave the industry. Right? There's no way around that. I know that's a sucky thing to talk about, but some are going to have to leave. Some are going to have to get on the boat and go with us. Right? There's no way around that. Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an ASOG member. Right?
I am. Proud member.
Yeah.
I'm not a contributing one. I'm looking to change that after talking to you. No, I am in a shop called Legendary Automotive. It's in Fort Myers, Florida.
Right.
And, I've had that since, 2017, April of 2017.
Right.
It's an existing shop. I had another location in New Hampshire that I had owned for about 10 years, very successfully. For 6 out of 10 of those years, we were the top independent AAA shop for the entire state.
Holy cow.
But I wanted to change, and I went to Florida. Bought that shop in 17, and took a shop from 750 to 2 million within 2 years.
Right.
Wow. And now I have all this. I have a great team, and it gives me more time to give back to our industry. Like Jimmy said, one of the things that's truly amazing about the group of shop owners, whether ASOG or here at the Ratchet and Wrench conference, is everybody genuinely cares about each other and wants to help others. Overcome. We've all started somewhere. Sleeping in. I slept on a cot when I first bought my last shop in a hot room in the shop. Right. Because I had to choose between rent and a shop.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I told you a story about one of the guys who won the scholarship. That he was in a really similar situation, and that's what's so cool about it is that we're all pushing for that. We're all pushing for improvement. We're not just out here trying to say, and Judson, you're coming in. Right. And what I admire about this guy is that he's out here trying to get some training, trying to get some information first. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing, like in our groups, in our circles, we're seeing a lot of technicians who say, you know what, that owner guy, he's taking all the money, and he's not giving me any of it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go start my own shop. And so they go in and they don't have any knowledge. They don't have any information. They don't have any ability. Next thing you know, and if we've read the email, any of y'all read the email? You got to read the email right before you start your shop or you take over. Okay. Like when you read the email, one of the things he talks about is the bakery. And if you listen to the podcast, you hear it in almost every episode, is that the job of baking cupcakes is not the job of owning a business that bakes and sells cupcakes. Right? Sure. And it's a realization that just because we're a really good tech does not make us a really good owner. It doesn't make us a good manager, right? It becomes something we have to learn. So I'm really impressed to see you here trying to learn that, to see what the business is actually like.
And that's kind of why my first step was I wanted to decide, is this going to be the life for me? I enjoy working on cars, but I have to understand that once I make the transition from technician to business owner, I'm going to have to take my tools home. I have a business to run. I don't have the the time anymore to work on things unless it's my own stuff at home. And you'd mentioned earlier about how, the technician sees, oh, the boss is making all the money.
Right.
Well, I think that's the improper motivation. I mean, like you mentioned, coming and wanting to better yourself and build the relationship with your boss so that you can leave on good terms to begin with, but he grew something, and if I'm able to give him, his end of the road retirement plan, it's like, hey, here's whatever the amount is, you can die on this effectively.
Right.
He's happy. He's hopefully be happy that it's left a good legacy.
Right.
With
What
me.
you're doing is really cool though, because it's very similar. Like your boss is really lucky to have you, because it was the same situation with my dad. Like they build these companies up, and let's face it. I mean, a single store selling for a lot of money, enough to retire on, unless it's set up right and doing a ton of volume, is really tough. Like a shop owner's got to save a lot of money for a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even $1 million, $2 million shop is, it's depending on how old they are.
Right.
Right. And when we looked at it and taking in me buying the company from my family, was that I worked a buyout plan that was going to be 15 years long. Plus my dad had his savings and all that stuff. So it was really like a retirement plan. So, he's lucky. He's lucky that you have somebody working for him that is taking that much responsibility.
Yeah, that is really true. And so I think so many shop owners, they go into this and they think, and we've talked about this on the show before. I had an opportunity to buy a shop, right? And I went and talked to the shop owner. And he says, I'd like $1.1 million for it. And so I talked to the appraiser and I said, rough guess, tell me what the property's worth. He said $400,000, buildings and everything. And I go talk to him and said, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the business itself. Let's see a P&L. And nowhere on there had he paid himself. Nowhere on there had he paid rent. Nowhere on there was there net profit. And I began to talk to him and I said, hey, listen, where's the money at? Where have we generated revenue? You're telling me you've done all this revenue. Where's it at? And he said, well, you can't have revenue because then you have to pay the taxes.
Sorry, dude.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, your business is not worth that. And they build all their retirement into that, and they think, well, I'll sell all the equipment. Well, it's worth pennies on the dollar at that point. It's not worth anything. Right. And so I think it's so sad to see that, because we see it so often. We see these shop owners build their retirement into a business that's not worth it.
Well, I think a lot of guys start their shop, that's the dream, but there's no exit strategy when they're starting it. And I see so many that I'm going to look at, to expand, into another location. They've been robbing themselves blind,
right?
So that when they are going to sell, they're ready to sell the shop. Right. They literally, well, I'm making $70,000 over here. They're trying to get paid twice on it, and it just doesn't work that way if you're working with banks.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's your game plan? You've got a really successful shop. You had a really successful shop. Now you got another one. What's the game plan? What's the future look like for you?
Well, I mean, obviously, I want to expand into multiple locations. Okay. Within the Southwest Florida area. Right. But I want to care enough about my staff to provide a pathway for people that are joining my team to get the education so that they can become a key player within my organization, and then earn some interest, earn some ownership over time. Right. And then between the ownership and the cash from the small percentage of ownership, I'm literally setting them up within 10 years or 15 years so that they will have enough cash to buy the business. I continue to hold the real estate for several years after that, and then hopefully if I've trained them well enough, they will
take over and roll with
be able to buy the real estate too at that point. But I really want to get involved with helping our industry more. Shop is, I love shops, I love shop ownership, but there are a lot of folks out there that that could use a little help, and I'd like to provide some of that.
That's awesome.
It seems like a over-encompassing theme here is all of the shop owners have kind of had this, I don't want to say it a mantra or a slogan, but charge enough, to pay your people well. And it's really neat to see, especially elites such as yourselves, with that mindset where you take care of your people and the money's just going to show up.
Right.
That's very cool.
Exactly. Well, and you know, in ASOG, there was this whole theme over the past couple of years, and it was RYR 2020, RYR 2021, raise your rates 2020. And in so many ways, a lot of these guys who are the best of the best have recognized that our trade has lagged behind the others, right? Yet we have more liability. We face more challenges than many of the other trades by far, right? And we're dealing with some stuff now, and you know, you're into EV. We're going to see these EVs hit the market, and one of the things that we talk about is we're not prepared for that. The workforce is barely prepared for what we have right now. Jimmy, you're kind of going into the consulting thing, is that right? Like, you're helping shop owners and you're growing. What do you say to a shop owner that's out here saying, look, I can barely find help now. How am I going to train guys on EV? What do I do next?
Well, I mean, right now is the time that we're at crossroads here, and the guys who are trying to stay under the radar, the guys who are paying themselves cash, the guys that are, you know, doing things that aren't growing the business and putting things back into the company.
Right.
They are either gonna stay really small and they're gonna be irrelevant to us,
right,
like other shop owners and in the industry as a whole,
right,
or they're gonna go out of business.
Right.
You know, right? So the future of our industry right now is investing back into the company, and one of the things that we're focusing on right now, a lot of, is management training and technician training. One of the things that I learned years ago when I was delivering seminars for one of the bigger consulting firms was we in the industry were really good at training owners.
Right.
Really good. Right? And what you'll find in the common theme in this group here, like especially these multi-shop owners, they train deep. It's not just the owner that's here. The bigger companies that are here right now, they've got managers here. They've got service writers here. Some guys have 4, 5, 8 people here. Right. So my message, right, is that we need to get training and make this industry where people can see a path.
Yeah.
So a technician can come in as a C technician, and they can see their path to being an A technician that's going to work on electric vehicles, because the company is investing in the technology, in the training, to get them there. And a service, or if they want to be an owner someday, like what Jason's talking about. You know, how do I get from a C technician to someday eventually owning a shop, and not being afraid of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Not being afraid that someday, if Judson was working for me, right, knowing what his aspirations were, to feel confident enough in what we're doing to help him get where he wants to be, not suppress his growth.
Absolutely. And I think that's so much. And in ASOG, you see a lot of that, right? You see a lot of these owners who are going out and saying, you can't be afraid of that, right? Because if you really want to help the industry, because Judson's going to do what Judson's going to do. If that's his passion, he wants to own a shop, guess what? He's going to own a shop no matter what you do. So you have a responsibility to bring up the next generation. Is it part of that that's created this mess? Is it part of that that's created the industry that we live in today, of owners who were not willing to go out and say, let me help you. Let me take you to the next level.
I mean, I think, what Jimmy is bringing to, our industry is really what we need. We need education. I see so many shop owners basically running their business based on the successful actions that they see other people doing. They're they're followers of other shops. They read, stuff online, hear what people are doing, and then they apply it in their business, but they really don't know why. And it's all about getting that real education. Like Judson, he had to get an education and get this big shiny toolbox so he can work on hybrid cars.
Exactly.
And it's those business tools, not only for the owner, but for the sales staff and other staff within the organization.
Right. Isn't that the theme though? Like, we're talking a lot at this conference about, I've got 3 topics, and they're either about employee engagement, like how do you get the most out of your team, how do you keep your people excited about the business by not like getting it trapped in the negative, and then finding technicians and the common theme, and these are some successful guys that are delivering seminars here, and the people that we're networking with, right? The common theme is getting them training and caring about their success. It's across the board. We were just in one just a little bit ago, and just the onboarding process for Seth's shop.
Yeah, it's insane.
You know what I mean? Like if a guy went through his training process just to get into his company, he would know more about running an auto repair shop than a lot of people.
Than a lot of owners.
A lot of owners.
Right.
The basics.
Exactly. And so I think that's one of the things that we have to think about is we have to develop our team. We have to bring our team up. And right now, I'm going to tell you, we've got hundreds and hundreds of technicians messaging us. And we're talking about these very, very good auto repair shops. And they're saying, listen, you guys are saying there's good shops out there, but I'm telling you, I can't find one. Right? Hundreds. And there's no connection between the two. And so we've got to begin to show them. And we have to speak with our words and act with our actions. Right, because what's happening in a lot of shops is they're not doing that.
That's right.
And the reality is, we were talking about it yesterday. I heard it in some classes today. You become so inundated with ownership, right? There's so much to do. That Brian Sump keynote this morning, boys, it hit me right in the heart.
Yep.
I mean, because that's where we all are. Right, and whether you're a technician, whether you're an owner, you become inundated with the daily tasks that you have to accomplish. And you can lose sight of everything else. You've got to focus on the people.
From a technician standpoint, if I knew that there were owners out there, right, that acted like this and treated their employees like this, I would apply there 1,000,000 times. And I think that Joe Marconi last night hit on it really well. He said, when you're marketing, and he touched on the whole technician shortage thing, he said, those technicians, they're looking at your Instagram page.
Yeah.
They're looking at your Facebook profile.
Absolutely.
They're seeing how clean is your shop? How are you treating people in the community?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's probably my biggest suggestion to any shop owner that's looking for people is manage your online presence and do it well and exemplify, who you want to hire.
Right.
Don't just say, oh, I want to hire the best. Be the best.
Amen. So
there's right from the technician's mouth.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. So what would you say to a technician, right? What's your message to a technician? You're living the dream that so many technicians. I'm telling you, I got 125 messages this week alone from technicians saying, "Hey, I want to make a transition to owner. I want to find a new job. I want this. I want that." What's your message to the technicians?
Well, if you're looking for a new job, see who attended Ratchet and Wrench, and start applying at those places. I mean, really, it seems like every person I've met has been just top tier quality. And if you're worth your salt, they're going to vet you and hire you. The other thing is just start doing research. Stop pounding on doors. Actually spend time. If you really have this drive to be successful, you're going to take that time on the front end and really research your company. What is their mission statement? Does their vision line up with who you are as a person? And go from there when you're applying.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
We did, Jason and I in another shop, we did over 150, it was about 170 technician surveys.
Yes.
We did them in Phoenix, near my shop, Fort Myers by his shop, and Boise by our friend's shop.
Right.
And the common denominator of what technicians are looking for, they want advancement, they want the environment. Yes, they want the money. Let's face it. Like, a guy's going to get paid what he's worth, and he should. Right. And that's where the whole culture, the whole mindset of the owner has to be in alignment, because you have to be able to sell that technician's value to the customer. Right? And he's going to look for somebody who appreciates how much he's worth, what he knows, the tools he's invested in, the training he's invested in. But when you look at a technician, and we talk all the time, I watch the auto shop owners group all the time, and everybody's talking about the shortage of technicians, I hired 2 master technicians last week. 2. Right? And what did I put in my ad? I put the exact things that we found in the surveys. The exact things that we found in the surveys and the ads. Now, where were these guys working? This one guy that we hired, his name's Nick, and he's going to start in a couple weeks after he does his vacation. He showed me, he goes, I'm working in a really tight location. And he goes, it's not, he walks in my shop. My shop's an old shop, right?
Right.
It's clean, but it's old. And he goes, wow, I got a lot of space here. This is really clean, right? Now you'd think he walked into Taj Garage, you know? But,
Right. Yeah.
But then he showed me a picture of where he was working.
Right.
He has one bay, one lift, in a really tight space, and it was nasty in there.
Right. Right.
This guy is certified in hybrids.
Wow.
The shop he's working for is a Asian import
Right.
specialist. So, and he's a master tech,
Right.
and he's working in that,
Yeah. That's
right?
crazy. That's
so,
crazy.
and you know, and he's making like $1,100 or $1,200 a week salary.
Wow.
He's gonna make $80,000 to $100,000 working for us.
Well, and so my question to all of you is this: is why do technicians, good technicians, stay at bad shops?
Technicians don't like change, you know, and I think a lot of technicians, I have a lot of, you know, because we are well known for, you know, providing excellent service, have the good tools, we have a lot of people that apply.
Right.
They're really just like coming to us so they can go back to their boss to get a bump in pay.
Right.
You know, they would rather stay in a bad situation that they know rather than risk going to this new place, you know.
I was going to say the same thing, the fear of the unknown.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys have had bad experience after bad experience after bad experience, and they just think that that's what all these shops are. And
Right.
I think what Judson said about doing your research, and remember, when you're interviewing and checking these shops out as a technician, it's not just about them asking you questions.
Right.
You know, ask them questions.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Definitely. Understand who they
Yeah,
are.
what are the opportunities that are presented here
Right.
for me for financial growth and professional advancement?
Right.
And talk to the other staff and find out where they've come from and how fast they've done and what the training's like.
Right. So what questions would you tell somebody to ask a shop owner when applying? What if you're a technician, what would you ask a shop owner when you go to apply? Either one of you.
Well, I would say, I mean, from a standpoint, like you look at like why doesn't a technician want to change jobs?
Right.
And you're dead on. It's broken promises. There's a history there,
Right.
where okay, well, especially like an A tech,
Yeah.
he might have a nice salary. He might be $60,000, $70,000,
Right.
but what is his true earning potential,
Right.
right? And I would say, what is my potential here,
Right.
and how can you guarantee that?
Right.
Right? Like, but what are you doing administratively to keep these bays full? We have another group, Automotive Association,
Right.
Jason and myself, and we have about 20 shops.
Right.
And one of the things we were going over was looking at how many techs you have versus how many administrative support people you have.
Right.
Who makes the money in the shop?
Right. Yeah.
So who needs to be supported?
Yeah. Amen.
Right? So in a lot of shops, and this goes back to the 90s when consulting first happened,
Right.
started in this industry, was that the ideal shop was 3 mechanics, 1 service writer,
Yep.
an owner or a manager, and maybe a receptionist, bookkeeper, office manager that worked part-time.
Right.
Keep the overhead low,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
keep everybody happy. You can't grow like that.
Right. Yeah.
So I would ask, how do you
No,
keep the
definitely.
bays full?
Well, so one thing that I've got to say to that is you touched on a subject that's going to get a ton of heat on YouTube, and that is that a lot of technicians were posting up saying, "Hey, these guys are out here paying consultants. These guys are out here paying, office staff and all of these ancillary folks that are working in the office of the shop, and I'm over here making $16 an hour." Now, look, we're over here talking about $100,000 a year salaries. We're getting messages from guys saying, "Look, I can't get over $30,000 a year. I'm over here making $16 and $17 an hour, right?" And okay, so David and I, we thought that must be just like, surely that's not normal, right? I mean, we know we're not doing that. I know a lot of other people that aren't doing that. It turns out there's a lot of people who are not paying what most of our network, right? Let's call it the ASOG network, the Ratchet and Wrench network, whatever. We're not like everybody else.
Right.
And it took me some time to figure that out, because when we started doing this podcast, we're talking to technicians it was mind blowing. Surely he must be a bad technician. He's just not at the right place. And then it became more and more frequent. We're hearing this. No, the rest of the industry's not taking care of these guys.
That's right.
Well, and the other thing that we had found out in the survey that we did was that there's nowhere for like technicians to like communicate with each other about shops and what's going on out there. Most
they don't
people
network as much as you'd think they would. I mean, in my survey, it was like, what social media are you on?
Right.
Nothing. And it was like 20% were on Facebook and what are they, mechanic memes and stuff like that. But it wasn't.
A majority were just like other technicians, like and service writers and whatever. But there's not this like broad like we have ASOG.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I would love to hear back from, folks listening to this is, what are these technician groups that are on Facebook that the great technicians are at? Because I would love to get the shops in touch with them that can provide, the money and the training and the life.
She can rattle her bells all she likes. You better come talk. I mean,
She rattles the bells.
so everybody, this is Megan. Megan's the one who put all this together. She is the one who accomplished all this. Say hi, Megan.
Oh, hello. It certainly was a big team effort here at Ratchet and Wrench, but it's been a great experience, and we're going to have a lot of fun for the rest of it here.
Invite everybody, because this is a big group that listens to this.
Heck yes. 2022. Stay tuned.
Do we know where it's at yet?
We do. And that will be announced momentarily. Yes, right now it's just attendees right now. You had to be here to know about it early, but it will be announced right after this conference.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this special live episode of the ASOG podcast. If you'd like to catch these episodes early, you can do so by becoming a patron. Just go to asog.site and click on the Become a Patron Now button. Becoming a patron helps support the show, gets you several perks, and is tax deductible. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and on YouTube so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot me an email. My email address is david@asog.site. That's david@asog.site. Until next time.